June is a season of renewal in Katmai National Park, Alaska. Plants carpet the landscape in greenery, breeding birds fill the forest with song, the first sockeye salmon return to freshwater, and let's not forget, brown bears begin their summer-long effort to fatten up on salmon in preparation for winter hibernation. Brooks River in Katmai National Park attracts some of the largest brown bears on Earth. Over the next few months, thousands of people will travel there to watch in person, and millions more will experience the spectacle through the bear cams on explore.org. Hi, everyone. This is Mike Fitz, your resident naturalist with explore.org, the world's largest and greatest live nature cam network. And I'm joined today by my co-host and guest, Charlie Annenberg, who is explore.org's founder. And Charlie and I are both super excited for the bear cam season. Charlie, thanks so much for joining me today. Great to speak with you again.
It's always a pleasure, Mike, to speak with you. And it's always a pleasure to speak to Explore fans. They're the bread and butter of Explore. And so to anyone watching this, I just want a heartfelt hello and thank you for being here.
Brown bear season on explore.org is nearly here, and we'll tease you a little bit with when the cams may go live towards the end of the program. So that's a little carrot to keep you watching till the end. But we're here right now to share our excitement for the return of the bear cams. And we're also looking to hear from you during the program. I have several questions for Charlie, so we're going to discuss a lot of things. And we'd also like to know your answers to some of those same questions. So please join the conversation in the comments, whether you're watching on YouTube or on explore.org. I also have several questions that were submitted to us in advance by the audience already. But if you have additional questions for Charlie and I, then please post them in the chats and we'll try to answer a few of them as we head along. Charlie, maybe just to get started, I was thinking about how I feel in the lead up to the bear cams launching for the year. It's a time where I feel like this great sense of anticipation because I want to see Brooks River again. There's a lot of stories of the bears and the salmon that we want to follow, but I'm also filled with a little bit of stress too because I know there's a lot of work ahead of me to talk about the bears, even though it's a lot of fun. I'm curious about you though. What feelings does this time of the year sort of evoke for you?
It's like butterflies in your stomach. I'm a little nervous, but I'm so excited. Just can't wait to put on my big screen and just stream the bears 24/7. It's my antidote to stress. It's the great natural cathedral. So I'm super excited. I can't wait, but there's always nerves because things can go wrong. We have expectations, anticipations, what's going to happen this year. But I'm really excited. In fact, more excited than I've been in a long time. I really need the bears this year.
Yeah, and before we talk more specifically about the bears, during the wintertime, you and I, we both watch a lot of Explore cams, and Explore added several new live cams to the community this year. Have there been any of the cams, maybe it's new, maybe it's old, that you've been enjoying over the last several months?
Well, Mike, I like to think of myself as almost a stamp collector because our fans take these great photos, and every night as a ritual, I look at them all and I get to see the magic that unfolds. And it's been an incredible season, especially this the early part of spring, fall. I mean, first of all, I don't know if our fans have seen Tammy, this cheetah cam, and the four cheetahs. I mean, I've completely smitten, I admit it, by them. I sometimes when I do the posts on social media, I'm wondering if people get sick of me because I keep submitting it. And then it's been really exciting to have a great gray owl cam again. I just think there's something so majestic. There's so much wisdom in the great gray. We've even seen some long-eared owls. I mean, the puffins have been out recently. Incredible life in some of our underwater cams. I'm always amazed at the amount of manta action, the eagle ray, and the moray eels that we see, the sunsets in Africa. The Grace gorilla story in itself is amazing, and seeing the Grace gorilla up. But I'm not supposed to have. I've even gone smitten kitten over the kitten camp, which I never thought I would. But those kittens are adorable, and I see why people love them. I guess because they're always up, these little mischief makers, and I'm just always so amazed. We had amazing northern lights, but I guess because I've never seen cheetah cubs or Cheetos, I know our fans call them the little Cheetos, and the great gray. That's been really unique and really special. And I sometimes, I still, I don't know if our fans feel this way, but I sometimes take for granted all we see on Explore. And, like you're traveling the world every day just on a button. I mean, I'm in Africa, then I'm up in upstate Montana, then I'm underwater in the Caribbean somewhere. Then you're looking up at space in the Arctic. And it's such a miracle that we get to do this. Love them all, but I admit that the cheetahs and the great grays have been real highlight, and we have some other cams even coming right now that we're going to have over the summer. So I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, the cheetah cubs, that was pretty amazing to see. We got to see them being born. I mean, who gets to see cheetahs giving birth? Like no one, like ever, unless maybe you're a zookeeper somewhere, uh, that's happened. But so that's extraordinarily special experience. For me, the one that I've been gravitating towards has been the African penguins at Stony Point, because we get to see two wild, critically endangered African penguin chicks. So this is a species, yeah, that is critically endangered, and so we've been seeing them growing over the last several months. So that's been really special for me. And then every once in a while, I tune into the new hummingbird feeder cam in Panama. Although
Yeah.
I have to say, Charlie, this one's not relaxing because these birds are just so high energy that it's not like not one that I can sit down and feel like I'm relaxed, because you see them just bouncing around constantly.
Yeah,
But it's really cool to see.
you think hummingbirds are so sweet, but it's tough out there. And then there's always those bees around that feeder. So it's there's a lot going on there, but they're all, they're all wonderful. I mean, just you can't get enough.
Well, let's talk about bear cams, because again, we're coming up on the season soon, and 2024 was a year to remember for a variety of reasons. It was full of surprises. It had some tragedies. It had some triumphs. I'm wondering, looking back now, Charlie, how do you remember it? Were there, what moments maybe stood out most to
You,
you?
for me, it was a year of transition. Um, it's funny. I know, like, there's this NBA finals going on right now, and who would have ever thought teams like Oklahoma and Indiana are in the finals? And saying that because, like, with bear season, we're kind of now we've been here 11 years, and we're seeing the evolution of all these junior and mid-sized bears become the new dominant bears, and that I found really interesting. I mean, you're seeing a whole new guard of like the new stars of Brooks Falls, I feel like. And last year that really stood out to me. There was obviously some very heartfelt moments. That's part of nature. But you know, I'm not going to name bears right now. I think our fans know, but like it was just it was an interesting year. But really, what I'm noticing is like we're kind of like for the first time, because we've been around now 10, 11, 12 years, we're seeing some of the bears that were just like little babies be starting to exert themselves. And I don't think as fans we've ever really seen that changing of the guard. And that's what really stood out to me last year.
Yeah, for sure. Actually, that's one of the things that I wanted to talk about too. And if I'm curious to know what our audience thinks about that as well. What do you remember from the 2024 Bear Cam season? What were the moments that stood out to you? I think there were several, and the change in the hierarchy is one of them for me. We saw that 856 essentially took a step back. Last year, he was the river's most dominant bear between 2011 and 2023. And it became apparent to him that he couldn't compete with the largest bears at the falls anymore. And then we had Chunk taking advantage of the opportunity. He asserted his dominance, and he was clearly more dominant than 856 and even 747. I suspect, though, that Chunk's time at the top of the hierarchy will be short-lived for two reasons. First, Chunk isn't a young bear. He's younger than like the really big guys, 747 and 856, but only by a few years. So I think he's like 20 right now or right around there. So there are plenty of, Charlie, as you mentioned, those young adult males who fish at the river. They're growing into giants themselves. Think bears like 903, 907, 503, 164 even last year. I mean, he was a tank at the end of the year. So we are definitely, I think, going to see a changing of the guard. So these younger males, they're entering the prime of their lives, while Chunk and the other bears that we would formerly consider very dominant, like 747 and like 856, they're already in their 20s. So age isn't in Chunk's favor right now. And then lastly, Charlie, I don't know if you've seen this, but Chunk has a pretty significant jaw injury that he's working through right now. In fact, we got a viewer question about that. Emart asked us, I know we've only seen one photo so far, Mike, but do you think Chunk's jaw is broken? How severe of an impact will this have on Chunk's ability to eat? Will this significantly hamper his ability to assert his dominance? And then Jesse also was wondering, because the injury looked pretty bad from the one photo that people were able to see. Jesse asked, will Chunk's jaw injury prove life-threatening? So to help maybe understand Chunk's plight right now, what he's experiencing, I want to share a couple of photos of Chunk that were taken yesterday evening by Katmai National Park Ranger Mo Whalen. So Mo described this injury, the lower front area of Chunk's jaw, is kind of detached and hanging loosely there. So I don't know whether the teeth are dislocated or if his jaw is broken, although I suspect it's probably a fracture. This will really challenge Chunk's ability to compete and forage this summer. This isn't the first time a bear at Brooks River has arrived with a broken jaw, however. So there's precedent for bears to heal through injuries even as severe as this. In 2007, for example, we have a photo of a bear who was numbered 420, and he had a very similar injury, which I'm convinced was a broken jaw at the time. He was able to catch salmon, although he ate them in a manner that really suggested he was in a lot of pain. And despite the pain and injury, he demonstrated his toughness and his resiliency. He returned to the river for 3 more summers. So, but that was a bear that really taught me, hey, these guys are tough. They are tough, tough beasts. And I think these bears get these injuries from fighting. We've seen, bears fight on the cams and they grab onto another bear, like the scruff of their neck or like the top of a bear's head or an ear area, and they'll kind of twist. But sometimes they lock jaws and they twist. And I think that can lead to one bear breaking the jaw of another. And at this time of the year, the male bears are competing for access for mating opportunities. And those fights can be especially violent. So yeah, will Chunk survive? Yeah, I think he's definitely going to survive. I don't think this is life-threatening right now. Is it going to change his behavior? I think also yes. The jaw injury is going to be a hindrance to him in his ability to catch live fish, and it may prevent him from competing, with the really big bears at the falls like he wants to. So this summer, I want the audience to watch for how Chunk adapts to that injury and that illness that, or not, excuse me, not illness, but that injury that he has. It's going to be something that he deals with, Charlie, this year. And we can think back to the early days of bear cam. Chunk was a much smaller bear. He's really come into his own the past couple of years, but this is going to be a setback for him.
Chunk's always up to something, so but we have seen bears get injured and, they come out of hibernation and it's also mating season and it gets pretty fierce out there. But that's what's so amazing is their resiliency and their ability to heal. So that will be interesting to watch. Chunk, it's like I feel like a father figure. Chunk, what are you doing? I want to talk to Chunk, but he beats to his own drum, and we'll see. I figured Chunk's tough. He'll figure out a way.
Yeah, he'll figure out a way, and I think that adaptability is something that he'll showcase this year. Because again, he wasn't always a super dominant bear, and he found a way to make a living and get huge and get very fat. So, well, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I'm just laughing because about 3 years ago, I made a short film on Chunk. It's on the YouTube channel. And he was a goofy bear. He was clumsy. He was falling over, rolling over. That's what I'm saying. It wasn't until really the last year, maybe 2, that he became like the dominant bear. But 3 years ago, he was kind of a clumsy bear getting his footing at Brooks. So he's very interesting. And then, it's kind of last year where he really kind of took on his persona. I mean, he went, Chunk really took on his persona last season, in my opinion. It was a big change.
So I think we're both looking forward to seeing Chunk and how he interacts with other bears at the river. Are there other bears though, Charlie, that you're looking forward to seeing as the cams go live?
Well, I mean, one of the things you said about last year that always intrigued me was, and it's why at the end of the season we talked about like making a Finding Otis documentary, because to me a lot of the dominant bears took a walkabout, and that was very strange last season. I mean, Holly 747 left, Grazer left fairly early, so seeing them all, is it? I'm not is I still struggle to this day with numbers versus names on bears, and I still think the bears deserve names, and so like I'm trying right now to go over my list of numbers, but what do we call them? The shower bear got very big, and I still believe he is the son of 747 because of their relationship. Like 747 tolerates that, but it's almost like he was teaching him to become the new dominant. I know people say that they're solo, but I've seen things over 10 years that suggest different. And then is it 510 or 520, which I think is the son of Otis? No question, the bear that's always in the corner that I usually use as my screensaver. And I think he's quite a bear. And then it's 601, I think. And, of course, Grazer, to see her come out with the cub, that will be interesting. And it's kind of like, will there be a new set of cubs this season? That's always really exciting. And which of the families will be dispersed? Will there be bears that have broken off this year, Mike? There's never a dull moment at Brooks Falls. Every bear has their own narrative, their own story. That's what makes it so unique. And I love the way like fans all gravitate to different bears.
Absolutely. Yeah. And let us know in the comments which bears you're looking forward to seeing most this year. I know our Bear Camp fans probably have, they probably will name them all eventually if we look hard enough through the comments. But speaking of families, Charlie, one of the families that they're probably not a family anymore, but we had this really special situation in recent years with 909, 910, and their cubs. They formed this sort of integrated family in 2022. And one thing that I find fascinating about bears is the complexity of their behaviors. They're intelligent, they're mentally flexible, they understand who is friendly, who's not. They recognize each other as individuals. And like you said, yeah, despite their asocial reputation, they can be quite social when the mood and circumstances strike. So, we watched this integrated family in 2022, and I was fascinated. You were fascinated with that situation. Millions of Bear Camp fans were watching them, and they formed this extended bonded family. And I kind of want to revisit that story a little bit because I know that story, in a sense, is going to continue this summer. Oops, sorry, my dog's knocking over my light. Oop, and now she just turned it off. Anyway, what we're going to do is we're going to go to a video about this 909, 910 family, and then we'll get back to it, and I will be lit up once again. And Charlie, I want to hear your thoughts after this video plays.
Okay.
Although sibling bears can form strong bonds as cubs and young subadults, they typically spend little or no time together as adult bears. At least, that's what they normally do. There is no such thing, however, as an average bear or average bear family. 909 and 910 are sisters from a litter born in 2016. After separating from their mother in 2018, we saw them together less and less frequently as they matured into adults at Brooks River in Katmai National Park, Alaska. Then, their behavior diverged from typical, and they gave us a chance to see a rare example of bonded mother bears and their cubs. In summer 2022, each sister returned to Brooks River with a cub. 909 was caring for a second-year cub, while 910 was accompanied by a first-year cub. As expected, the mothers and their cubs didn't associate closely in early summer. By mid-August, though, they became an integrated family. They traveled, foraged, and played together until they were last seen at the river in mid-October. Their relationship was something I had never seen among bears before, so I wrote a paper about it, which was published in the scientific journal Ursus. Find a link to the open access paper in the video description. Why did the families bond so closely in 2022? 909 and 910 aren't the first sibling bears to use Brooks River as adults. Yet such a high level of bonding between adult female bears appears to be quite rare. Bears survive by feasting when food is available and enduring famine when food is lacking. Perhaps most bears cannot overcome innate feelings of wariness and uncertainty created by competition and hunger, even when food is plentiful. A high level of sociability isn't inherent in every bear personality either. I'd rather spend time alone than hang out in a crowded place. Many bears are like that too. Maybe 909, 910, and their cubs experienced the ideal set of circumstances that allowed them to bond. They didn't suffer from any injury or illness that would have limited their ability to socialize. They weren't overtly wary or fearful of each other. The cubs were healthy, curious, and energetic. Food was of little worry that summer. The young mothers had a long, friendly family history. The mothers and their cubs also seemed to have personalities that, for bears, are a bit extroverted. Finally, let's not discount that the families had a lot of fun together. They liked each other. I have no doubt they experienced joy when their bellies were full and the bears could relax and play as a group. Feelings of comfort and contentment are as much of a motivator in bears as they are in people. The following year, in 2023, Bear 909 separated from her then 2.5-year-old cub, who was soon adopted by her aunt, 910. The 910 group often fished near 909 at Brooks Falls that summer, yet the adults remained separate. The 910 family, including the former 909 cub, remained together through October 2024. What will we see from them this summer on the bear cams at Katmai National Park? That remains to be seen. However, 909, 910, and their cubs showed us that the bear world is more than competition, hardship, and hunger. It is also joy, family, and friendship. Charlie, I know you watched that family a lot on the cams. We got to see the continuation of that story into last year with 910 and her cubs, including that adopted offspring. What do you think we can learn by watching the behavior of bear families? I mean, it's those are a magnet for bear camp fans. Like anytime cubs show up at the river and they're on camera, people are watching them. So, what do you look for when you're watching bear families?
Well, first of all, Mike, congratulations on your paper. And that's incredible. And I really enjoyed the film. And it's like, you asked what bears, and here I am. There's so much going on that I didn't even mention the BDs and 909, like that was almost implied. And it's how little we know. That's what we can learn. I love that sometimes we think we have bears figured out or nature figured out, and that's the beauty of Explore, but how much nature teaches us, how much divine wisdom is in these bears and their social hierarchies and the way they care for each other and the way they teach patience and determination and perseverance. And, Chunk's injured, but he's still going to persevere. He's not going to sit and complain. They just keep going on. And the community of the bears, even though they're isolationists, and the way they come together when there's a food supply. And it just ceases to amaze me. What they are, I've always said, like, especially Katmai, it's the ultimate natural cathedral, the church of nature, a pearl of the planet. And these animals to me are deities. And people like yourself, Mike, you're the keepers of the temple, like the rangers. I mean, they're like preserving this balance. And the fact is that we got to stumble upon them and really see them in their place. I mean, they're just so evolved. I mean, the fact that they've been hibernating and lowering their heartbeat to a few beats a minute, having cubs in isolation, and now they're coming out and their connection to the natural world. So, what can't we learn? That's what I'm saying. Just be silent and be an observer, and allow yourself and open your mind to possibilities. Like just let it go. And you see that story of the bead noses, and there's just so many more stories like that. It just makes me more excited for countdown. What will unfold this year? Like, how do I become a better person this summer by watching the Bears? I mean, that's what will happen. It will bring out goodness in me. Who else can claim that through a live cam? It will bring out betterness in our whole community.
Yeah, well said. And I think we are really in a new golden age of animal behavioral and our, I should rephrase what I'm trying to say. We're in a like kind of a new golden age of our ability to describe and understand the behavior of animals, because we have technology that we can pair with like large communities of people around the world. So we can watch bears on a webcam, for instance, and we can discuss what we're seeing. Those experiences were formerly just available to like a Lucky Park ranger, or who lived at Brooks River all summer, or a biologist who had like a grant somewhere to go sit out in the Alaska wilderness and kind of just watch bears over time. Those opportunities really weren't available to many people, but now, in through webcams, we can kind of democratize that experience. And I should say that my paper on the bonding of the 909 and 910 clans, that wouldn't have been possible without the observations of bear camp fans, because I couldn't watch 24/7, but they're commenting on it, they're archiving videos, they're taking snapshots, all of that stuff. So I do want to thank everybody who contributed, which was many, 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 many people. So thank you very much for that. And speaking of the 909, did have a question that came in about her. Frankie wrote in and asked, have there been any updates on 909 and her two cubs of the year? All I've really heard and been able to confirm is that 909 was seen with spring cubs this year. So COY, COY, that is an acronym for Cubs of the Year, if you're not familiar with that. And but that's the only kind of update that I have right now. This is one of those things that a lot of people are wondering about, like which mother bears are going to come back with cubs this year, Charlie. And that's the exciting thing about when the day that cams go live, is everyone's kind of glued. And then I think through the first few weeks of July, we often get those answers trickling in. It's not like the bears show up in one big wave, so it's always that sense of anticipation day by day. Who's going to be there?
It's just reading some of the fan questions and comments. Yeah, it's I'm excited. I'm sorry, I'm probably more excited than anyone. So keep it coming.
And then Randa asked, when will 909 and the 910 Cubs get their numbers? We had a similar question to that as well. Let me see if I can find that as well. Zadama wrote in and said, hey, hi, Mike and Charlie. With all the subadults being separated from their moms this year, can you tell us how long it will be before they get a number? And can you explain for new chatters how that all works? So in short, bears at Brooks River, there's a long-term monitoring study that the NPS, the National Park Service, has been doing since this version of it since the year 2000 or 2001. So they watch the bears during early summer and also in late summer. And if a bear shows up during the monitoring sessions in those seasons 3 or more times, then they get an identification number. Some of the bears get a nickname over time. There's no formal nicknaming process, but a lot of them get nicknames over time. And then the numbers are assigned basically within a different 100 series each year. And that's basically just up to the bear monitor, who's the biologist who's watching the bears on the river. So, for example, if she wants to give a bear number 333, she could do that. So it's just kind of like random within that certain number 100 series of numbers each year. So I think there's a really high chance this year that the 910 cub, so 910's biological cub and her adopted niece, they are going to separate or have separated already from their mother. So they'll have to show back up at the river. They'll have to be seen 3 times before they get assigned a number. But often the bear monitor doesn't assign numbers until later in the year once she ends up going through all of her photographs and data. So in the meantime, those bears, I think we can still continue to call them 909 Junior and 910 Junior. I think that would be appropriate monikers for the time being, even though they're both females. So so yeah, that's I think we're looking forward to that storyline, Charlie, with some of these young bears trying to figure out their way at the falls. We've talked a lot about different bears along the way, Chunk and the hierarchy. I'm wondering a lot about Grazer and how she's going to interact at the falls. Is that a storyline that you're curious about as well this year? Because she's likely to come back with a yearling cub.
I mean, these are the givens, 747 Grazer. I that's why I don't even get into that rabbit hole, because they're like, of course. I mean, I would love to. I hope we get to see more Holly too. But Grazer's. I mean, Grazer's Grazer. And that would be interesting to see her with her cub. How can you not love Grazer? I mean, she's Grazer for president. I mean, I love Grazer. So, she's so unique. It'll be really interesting to see. It's so hard to predict the storylines, Mike. I just hope they show up. Like I don't want to say anything. I just don't know what's going to happen. But it's kind of interesting to think. It's kind of interesting to think. If you think of it as fans, like right now, we're all gathering, talking about it, and in these like remote parts of the Katmai National Park right now, there are beloved bears, and they're making their way to Brooks as we speak. Like somehow finding like their own clock, their compass is leading them to this spot, and we're waiting to greet them. But they're like scattered and they're converging, here, and it's kind of neat, as we speak.
Yeah. And thinking about that too, we got an audience question, I think, that follows your comment really well, Charlie. This was submitted in advance. Hadija wrote in and asked, how are the bears doing this time of the year? Are they awake? Do they hang out by the falls mostly or in the surrounding woods? They're certainly awake. Bears start to exit their dens in the Katmai region, sometimes in March, most of them probably in April. The mother bears with the newborn cubs, so first year cubs, they're the last to leave the den. They like to give their cubs extra time to grow and gain body mass inside the den by suckling mom's milk. So they'll do that for a few extra weeks. They often don't come out until May on the Alaska Peninsula and in Katmai. But then after that, they're out there just kind of wandering around. It takes a while for their metabolism to ramp up to sort of what we would consider a normal level or an active level. If they find a food source, of course, they're going to take advantage of that. So if they find like a winter-killed moose or caribou, as things start to green up in the Katmai region, a lot of them will be eating vegetation, grasses and sedges, but it's a pretty tough time of the year for a lot of bears. So there's not like a concentrated food source that's going to bring them to Brooks River. They're just going to be moving through. And as the bear cams go live, once the cams go live, we're probably going to see a lot of that behavior. Charlie, you've seen it a lot too. Where like, hey, like a bear shows up at the falls, just kind of gives it a side glance back and forth, and then moves on. So I think we're going to expect to see that over the next couple of weeks or so. And yeah, again, for our audience, let us know, what storylines you're looking forward to watching on the cams this year. Talked about Grazer. I mean, she demonstrates strength and power and determination. She's with her yearling cub, she's gonna be a formidable bear at Brooks Falls. I would be surprised if she's not the top ranking female at the falls, and she probably will outrank in the hierarchy, a lot of those adult males, just because she has a reputation that follows her
Uh-huh.
wherever she goes. Um, Charlie, we had before the program, we were talking about visiting Katmai, and I know that people are wondering about this as well. We might have gotten a question about it. I'll look for it in the meantime. But I know that, yeah, somebody was wondering. Oh, yeah, here it is. So Vicar wrote in and asked, Charlie, have you ever been to Katmai? And Bears Ears was wondering, will you please do a Where's Otis documentary? So yeah, are you still planning to go to Brooks Camp this year? What's that trip looking like for you?
So during the off season, I've done some research up in Katmai, and I do plan on making a short Where's Otis documentary. I've been working on it a little bit because, it's like I feel like we discover ourselves through Otis. I mean, what is it about this bear that has so connected and resonated in so much? And also, I feel like Otis, even as a spirit guide, I'm still hoping he's going to show up, but even as a spirit guide, he'd want to show us the Katmai area as an ambassador, kind of like how Obi-Wan Kenobi was in Star Wars. So I still haven't given up on Otis, but so yeah, I'm going to head up there. I think late July, and hopefully we can do some live telecasts there, maybe some podcast, and maybe I'll even do group talks with the community about this Where Otis idea, and I can run some ideas and hear what they'd like to see as well. Katmai, there's what I call fantasy and reality, Mike. I thought I could just run around Katmai and make a film, but it's a little more restricted than the old days. So I'm still kind of working on the logistics, but yes, so I am going to Katmai, and yes, I hope to formulate something around Where's Otis, because no matter what, as you see behind me, that's a painting I commissioned of Otis right here. That's why I'm talking leaning. I wanted to show the fans that is the magnificent bear 480 who's looking down on all of us, the ultimate spirit guide. I love this guy. So one way or another, it's unfinished business with Otis and me, because I feel like he deserves the proper tribute. The bear has touched more people. He's the most philanthropic bear in the world. And so, yeah, I am going to go up there and look forward to hopefully be able to pay tribute to all my spirit bears up there, see them all,
And
at least say hi.
speaking of that painting behind you, we, of course, I thought this was going to happen, and actually the first live audience question that we got was somebody wondering about that painting behind you. So Sadie wrote in and said, Charlie, who's the artist of your fabulous painting behind you?
She's a Canadian. I don't know if people have seen some of the other talks I've given, and there's another bear that I have. Obviously, it's not Otis, so I contacted her. Her name is Shannon Ford, and I gave her a photograph of Otis, and she painted Otis. And it's really wonderful. I mean, every time I'm in my office, I have Otis looking down on me. So it's a really powerful painting. I should get out of the way completely. But
Is it watercolor or acrylic or oil or?
I have no idea, Mike.
Okay,
I'll
I was
ask
just
her.
curious.
Like,
Okay,
it's just colorful. I'm
yeah,
not a painter, like
it's beautiful.
it's just colors. It's funny. Everyone in my art is a painter. I realize I don't know, but it's like the eyes are so soulful, and the nose, and so yeah, I've been toying with the idea of finding Otis, and so I am going to head up there, and one way or another with the fans, we'll do some live chats and have a good time. It's been a while. So I have been to Katmai, but it has been a while, and I'm so spoiled by our cams because I have them on 24/7. So I haven't made it back up there. But I mean, if you say what's the storyline, my dream, my fantasy is Otis is still gonna descend upon us. I still feel like, like I said at the end of last season, a lot of the dominant bears were not around last season, which makes me think they might be on walkabouts for easier streams, while these new adult bears who are becoming, more dominant were taking place. So I'm not, I haven't dropped the mic yet, on Otis, but one way or another, that would be obviously that'd be the great storyline of all time if he does show up.
Yeah, the possibility truly exists. I mean, Otis was an older bear. He used Brooks River every year of his life until last summer, as far as we know. But bears sometimes just decide to do something different than normal. So again, that goes back to their adaptability, their what a biologist might call behavioral plasticity. They are not fixed, completely in their ways. It's not, they can think and decide, I'm just going to go do something else. And every once in a while, a bear who is a longtime user of Brooks River just doesn't show up for a year, and then they happen to come back. So that has happened before. I think maybe the one bear went like 3 years without returning, and then just showed up again, which is really surprising. Usually bears don't go that long. Usually it's just a year off, but a lot of times they'll just take like early summer or late summer off, for instance. Sometimes it's a gradual transition into that, and sometimes it's very sudden. And like you're like, hey, where the heck did Otis go? I don't know. You know, did he die or is he out there foraging in another location? We can't know for sure. So, yeah, that's one of those questions that's unanswered, Charlie. But I think the internet would explode if Otis kind of wandered back on Bear Cam this year.
Hey, let's hope. But we'll see. It's Otis. So, but one way or another, if not, he's like becomes that Obi-Wan Kenobi. He's still a spirit guide bear. I channel him all the time. So,
Yeah. I think these bears, I mean, it's really, when they ultimately end up passing away and not returning to Brooks River, it is sad because we end up connecting with them and feeling a strong emotional connection with a lot of these bears over the years. Number 410 is one. Otis is another for me. But 410, she was kind of like a part of my formative Brooks River experience. She was very habituated to people. She was always around the old floating bridge along the river. She was a great bear to watch. She was kind of a pain in the butt for rangers because she was always like on the trail. Like if she was coming out of the river, I would tell people, hey, if you want to cross the bridge, you better do it now because she's likely to sleep right next to the
oh,
bridge or something like that, and you're not getting to where you want to go. But she was a great bear to watch because she was so comfortable around the presence of people, and it's sad that she's not there. I mean, the river doesn't feel like the same place without her. And I know for a lot of people, like Holly, Otis, I mean, they fill those same check boxes for a lot of other people. So, but at the same time too, what gives me again, what picks me up, when I'm thinking about and I'm missing a bear like 410 or Otis is thinking about all these younger bears. Again, the legacy of 410 lives on in a lot of these other bears. It lives on in Otis. So we get to see again a changing of the guard. What's 903 going to do this year? What's Bucky going to do this year? What's 907 going to do this year? What's 503 going to do this year? He was just a cub in the early days of Bear Cam, and we saw him separate from his mom as a yearling. 402 was his mother, and then he got adopted by Holly, and now he has the potential to be one of the very most dominant bears on Brooks River. So yeah, that to me, seeing this continuation, Charlie, is one of those powerful things that brings me back to Bear Cam each year.
we're just in that, we're in the cycle of nature. I mean, that's what's so incredible. And, bears thinking thousands of years in millennial, and, we're in this time spare, but it really is amazing. I mean, we're truly living in the cycle. And that's what makes I think bear cam, the most interesting cam is that the return of the bears. So you develop these emotional connections. If you look at a watering hole in Africa, you don't identify with the elephant or the leopard that comes or an occasional male lion because they then disappear and you don't know if they're the same ones. But these bears all have their own distinct personalities and we've grown up with them. And it's kind of like people, I don't know, in this audience, that own a cat or a dog and you've grown up with them and you get closer and closer and you develop this almost deep soulful connection as a result. And it's the same thing, it's the same thing. It's incredible. And, I'm bad with numbers, but there is a bear, I'll say it during season, that I am sure is Otis's prodigy. There's no question. He always hangs out. in the office, and he's very patient. He looks just like him. He has his coat. I don't know if it's the 5'10" or the 5'40" said numbers, but I know I'm not a scientist, but I do have good instincts, and I can spot prodigy. I've been sparing, like why, 747 son or Otis, and I'll point them out. But I know their offspring are walking around Brooks Falls. That I do know.
Yeah, I mean that's part of their success too. If you're, we can look at mother bears and we can trace their lineage pretty easily because cubs spend so much time with their moms, and we get to see them grow and gain physical characteristics that help us to identify them. But since male bears don't play any role in raising offspring, it's harder to tell, like, hey, who is, this bear's father, for instance. Some of them, though, I think if we had the, genetic confirmation of that, we'd be like, oh, well, dummy, that's obvious, right? I have a really strong suspicion that bear 503, who for a long time had a nickname Cubadol, it's not one that we use very much anymore. He's a big giant bear right now, but I have a really strong suspicion that 856 is his father. I mean, he looks like his mom, 402. He has mom's ears, but just his mannerisms and his face and everything, it really looks like a combination. If you blended the face of 402 and 856 together in the lip licking that he does, like 856, I no way to confirm this, but a really strong suspicion that 856 is 503's dad. And this is footage of them actually last year competing for a fishing spot at Brooks Falls. And eventually 503 gets the fishing spot and 856 backs away, which again is a reversal, one of those those dominance and hierarchy positions that we've seen in recent years. So how that's going to play out this year, I don't know. A related question, though, about dominance in the hierarchy at the river, Wovetail 5 was asking, with Chunk's injury, do you see maybe Walker moving up? I don't think 503 is ready for it yet. And again, this is one of those stories, Charlie, we're going to have to just wait and see. Walker has grown increasingly dominant. Over the years, you and I have seen him go from a happy-go-lucky sort of young bear into a very dominant bear at Brooks Falls. He's very big. He's about 1,000 pounds in September and October. So yeah, he could slot into one of the. I think we can expect him at least to be very dominant this year. But how he's gonna, is he going to be the most dominant bear, or will there be a most dominant bear? I mean, those are open questions.
I kind of glanced over, at some of the comments, and I was almost going to give a shout out. I agree. Hot Walker, they call him GQ Walker. And that, which is true. I mean, Walker every year could be a fat bear champ. He has gone enormous, sometimes the size and, just the way the contest with the photographs. And there's that bear that I wish everyone had nicknames, and I urge fans to give them nicknames because I love it. The 6'10", and then back to like Mike not showing up. Like Popeye he was there one day and left last season, so that's why back to Otis, I'm bringing him back in. But I love GQ Walker, Hot Walker. I mean, he is handsome bear, and that will be interesting. Like how like Chunk was a goofy bear, like. Walker's never tried to assert himself truly at Brooks Falls. He's kind of always taken a back seat, and it'll be interesting to see. Like it is true with Chunk on. Does he want to flex a little bit more? I don't know, because his personality thus far occasionally does, but he seems a little bit more, for me, more passive. But I've always been a Walker fan. I mean, he's an incredible bear. I have some incredible images of Walker over the years, and they're all incredible. What am I saying? I mean, that's why I love looking. Like everyone's bringing up all these other bears I haven't mentioned, and I love them all. It's great. That's again what makes it so unique.
For sure. And with our few minutes remaining in the live chat, just a couple of more questions that we'll try to get to. One of the things that's a revolving storyline, and this has to do with all national parks and all public lands actually, is basically the threats of mass layoffs, firings, budget cuts, and things like that. Bob was wondering, any thoughts about the likely visitor experience at Brooks River this year with the recent NPS personnel cuts? I can say for sure that Brooks Camp is nearly fully staffed this year. Katmai is down on staff compared to last year, but as far as seasonal rangers go, the people who are out there at Brooks River on the ground, making sure that people are doing the right thing, getting their bear orientations, they basically have all the seasonal rangers that they asked for, and that's largely due to the generosity of people like Charlie, who through Explode.org donates a huge sum of money each year, and then also individual people who donate directly to the Katmai Conservancy. So Explode.org's grant to the Katmai Conservancy, and then individual donations, that basically is right now the saving grace for Katmai National Park. The park would have trouble functioning without that money. So everyone at the park, I think I can speak for the Rangers, even though I'm not one. They are incredibly grateful for everyone's generosity and support. And Charlie, I'd like to thank you again for that continual support, because parks really need us more than ever right now. The wildlife in them, they need us to be good stewards right now. I think Brooks Camp is going to be challenging because it's going to be crowded at the river once again. So if you're going, please respect the rules. Please respect the Rangers. Please, especially respect the Bears. But yeah, thanks to everybody out there who has donated now, and maybe if you have to have the opportunity in the future. So yeah, and especially you, Charlie.
We talk about Fat Bear Week, but what always humbles me and blows me away is back to the community of Explore when we do the Otis, I think, well, I don't know what we call it anymore, the Otis Scholarship Fund for Katmai. And I think last season, we raised over $350,000 in the course of a week. And, that's, again, what makes Explore unique as a community. And I always like to tell people, the Explore community, I mean, these aren't like hobnobbing high wealth individuals making $50,000 grants. These are $10, $15, $20. These are people that would give up a Netflix monthly subscription to help. There's nothing like it in the world. And especially in these pressing times when we see that, I think that is the most impressive thing, is seeing the outpouring of support by our community. I've never seen anything like it in my life. I've worked with a lot of conservation efforts, a lot of groups, and they can't believe it when you say it's in a week. And people aren't giving away mugs or posters or autographed CDs, and it's just coming from their heart. And that's, again, as great as the cams are, what makes Explore unique are people like yourself, Mike. Really the unsung heroes are staff, the Rangers, the cam operators. I mean, here I am a front screen, but I'm just a figurehead. It's these people. And then it's the community. I mean, just being on their chat boards and watching them talk. I mean, the fact that they're even listening right now. And so, yeah, especially in these pressing times with the parks. And I know Courtney and Candace have been doing some campaigns for the national parks with some of the Bears saying, we have your back. And we plan on looking into that more. It's, yeah, it's a strange time, but because of the fans, like you said, Katmai will be fine, and it's incredible. That to me is the single most impressive thing, is what they do every year, and they don't have to. It's incredible. They're true selfless heroes, our fans.
Yeah, the community around the bear cams is something that I never anticipated would develop the way it is when I first started doing like bear cam programming. So if you wind back the clock, when I was a ranger in 2013 at Katmai, and it was Roy Wood and we were experimenting with live programs on the internet. Really, I had no idea how powerful people would connect with this place through the webcams, and I'm so grateful to be able to share this experience with everybody. It's really special, and thanks to the community again stepping up, because you have Katmai's back. Essentially, it's it's not Charlie and I. It's you who are watching who can support this. The people who make sure that Congress knows that national parks are important and need to be protected. Charlie, maybe a final question for you. A lot of people wonder about this every year, and again, especially like in the absence of Otis last year, and we talked about that. But what do you think people can do to maybe memorialize some of the well-loved bears that we've gotten to know over the years?
Well, I think that's kind of what I was thinking about with like finding Otis, and we should discuss that through the season. I'm just not sure like what that answer is. But I just know he's enriched so many people's heart, and there's something really powerful. And Otis is just a figurehead. I mean, for me, it's not just Otis. It's, like 747. A lot of these bears, 747, obviously, and I guess that's part of why I want to go out there. I mean, I'd love to hear from our fans, like what they think. Is it like this painting? Is it a plaque? That's why I think a film that would memorialize it. And it'd be so neat at the end to have some type of like online tribute as part of the film where people can really share their heartfelt thanks and how this bear affected their lives. Again, like he's an Obi-Wan Kenobi, like he's still guiding us. I said that jokingly, but I refer to Otis all the time. If I'm like going on a long hike or exercising and I'm tired, believe it or not, I pretend Otis is walking by my side. Like, how does he keep going? If I find I'm hyperventilating and I try to meditate, I often believe he's sitting next to me. He's teaching me how to stop being a spaz and breathe. So I use them, believe it or not. I'm not joking when I say that. I really find that I've studied them enough and I try to channel their energy. And I do think that, if it's a story, a book, a movie, maybe a plaque at Katmai, this painting, I do hope that we always continue with the Otis Scholarship Fund regardless. We should memorialize him because he's the ultimate selfless bear. He's a symbol, and I don't even know why he's such a symbol for so many people, but he is a symbol. And Explorer's always been about selflessness, and he is the selfless king, the hero. He's let me show me again. It's like, so I don't know. It's okay not to know. It's kind of what Finding Otis is about, and at least we should string together all our footage of Otis and the wonders of Katmai and just make a film and a tribute would be great, so our fans could watch it on Explore. Like, even if it's not like Finding Otis, but we have so much footage and photographs, and it'd be great to have like fans' comments and interviews. Like I said, I'm just a steward. Like I'm just here, and for some reason, anyone who's listening to this telecast, somehow we've all been brought together because of these bears. It's kind of wild. We're all over the country and maybe around the world. I don't know where our fans are coming from anymore because it's grown. I'm shocked when I go around places and people know about Bear Cab. To me, we're just like a little rowboat in the middle of the Atlantic, but people actually know, Mike. They know about this cam, and somehow they know about a lot of these bears thanks to your work and I guess everyone else. It's really so. I am open to ideas, and we should talk about this season. How do we do the proper memorial for Otis? But Otis might be coming back, so let's not write that story yet. So before we memorialize, let's greet him back.
Yeah, I was thinking about the answer to that question too, and our everyone watching, again, post your ideas in the comments. We'll be looking for them, after for me especially, I'll be reading them after the program. Uh, there's a lot of different ways that we can approach this. One of the things, though, Charlie, that I think resonated with me is, again, looking at the wildlife, looking at their behavior, looking at what they deal with, and kind of finding inspiration through that. Like, again, perseverance and adaptation. How can we apply that to our own lives? And then also kind of giving back to the animals as well. They give us joy when we are watching them. It's joyful to live in a world filled with wild animals. So I think one of the things that we can do is give back to them, work to protect their habitats. Bears like 402 and Otis, they had the opportunity to thrive at Brooks River, and we need to make sure that other bears now and in the future have that opportunity. So that means oceans full of fish. It doesn't mean overfishing. It means that the oceans are filled with salmon. Tackling climate change, again, making sure that there's enough park rangers in these spaces. I think that's maybe the greatest thing that we can do is to help the animals going forward. So again, let us know your thoughts in the comments. I'd be curious to know what our audience thinks about those ideas. And Charlie, I want to thank you for your time today. We're just about out of time, but it's always fun to talk with you again. And I know you're super excited for the bear camp season. And after talking with you, I'm looking forward to it even more.
Oh, like I said, I look forward to this time of year and catching up with you. And the fans don't mind, maybe we'll do a few more live talks and kind of brainstorm this season. It really, it's just so nice to have a ray of positive light, in this world, and the Bears in particular provide it. And I agree with you, Mike. I just want to go back to that of, life's all about living in balance and finding that balance. And so ways to memorialize Otis and help, because animals more than ever, they need our help. I mean, the brown bears of Katmai, they'll be good in a way, because look at what we've created, but we got to create more of these. And it's going to be an interesting season. But again, it's, thank you. I needed this talk, and, to our audience who joined in, thank you. We at Explore, we really work for you guys to try to, and, we're just servants to a higher cause, I guess, nature and to you. So thank you all, and never stop learning, as we like to say.
And one final thought from me: when do the cameras go live this season? That's a question that a lot of people have been wondering and answering, and I won't answer it directly right now. But we plan right now to announce the date and the time that the cams will go live during the next More to Explore program, which is Monday, June 16 at 12 p.m. Eastern time, 9 a.m. Pacific. So you can watch it on Exploded.org's live events channel. So, but we're getting very, very close. I think everyone is going to be very excited by how close we are once we announce that. My final thoughts are to thank Charlie. Charlie, thanks once again for joining me. It was great to speak with you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Charlie Annenberg is the founder of Exploded.org. My name is Mike Fitz, the resident naturalist with Exploded.org. The bears at Brooks Falls, they're coming. It's one of the most enthralling sights in nature, and Charlie and I are eager to share that experience with you. So thanks for joining us today. I'm Mike Fitz with Exploded.org, and as we like to say here, never stop learning.